What I am about to teach you takes less than 60 seconds to perform. You can do it tonight in your own bedroom with 3 coins from your pocket before you close your eyes. But I need to be honest with you about something before we go any further, because I know exactly why the title of this video brought you here, and honesty is the only thing that will make this teaching actually work for you. The word instant is not wrong, but it does not mean what modern culture has trained you to think it means. In the ancient Kabbalistic tradition, instant refers to the moment of spiritual root change, the precise moment a shift occurs at the level beneath the physical, where everything in your financial life actually originates. That shift, when the practice is performed with genuine understanding and full intention, is immediate. The fruit that follows arrives in its own time. And the difference between the people who experience the fruit and the people who try this once and call it empty is simple. They understood what they were doing and why. You are about to understand both. I am Rabbi Naomi, and this teaching comes from the Kabbalistic tradition of segulot, spiritual practices transmitted within families and between teachers and students across generations. A segula is not superstition, and it is not magic. It is a precise spiritual technology, a specific action performed with specific intention that creates a specific alignment between the practitioner and the flow of divine abundance. My grandmother kept a small leather pouch containing 3 coins in a location I will describe to you. Her mother kept one before her. When I was young, I asked my grandmother where the practice originated, and she told me that in our family it had been transmitted so long that no one living could remember the first person who began it. This is not unusual for a genuine segula. They travel through time in the mouths of families, not in books, not on platforms, in the intimate space between one generation and the next, where the most powerful things are always kept. Before we go any further, type the words, "I am a channel," in the comments right now. Not as a formality, because the entire teaching I am about to give you rests on understanding yourself not as a passive vessel waiting to receive, but as a living conduit through which divine abundance moves in both directions. That understanding is the architecture of everything else. Type it now. Then stay with me until the last word, because the instruction I give at the end changes whether everything before it works or does not. This is a complete teaching. Leave before the end, and what you have is a fragment. A fragment cannot do what a whole teaching does. Now, before I give you the practice, I need to remove 3 specific beliefs that will prevent this from working if you carry them unchallenged into what comes next. I am going to be direct. This is not the moment for softness. The first belief, that spiritual practices around money are superstition, and that intelligent, educated, modern people should not need them. I understand this belief. I have held a version of it myself at different moments in my life, and I want to offer you a single observation in response. You are watching this video, which means the rational, modern approach to financial transformation, the budgets, the positive thinking, the extra hours, the side income, has not produced what you were hoping for at the level that matters. The ancient teachers of Israel did not dismiss the physical and rational layers of financial life. They understood them as the downstream expression of a spiritual root. You can spend your entire life rearranging the downstream, very cleverly, very diligently, without ever touching what is causing the pattern at the root. This is not a failure of effort. It is a failure of address. The segula addresses the root. That is why it has survived 2,000 years, while countless financial strategies have not. The second belief, that wealth is produced primarily by effort, and that any practice not involving direct labor is lazy thinking or wishful behavior. This belief is costing you more than you know, and it has a specific name in the tradition. It is called the belief in Kochi va'otzem yadi. My power and the strength of my hand has produced this wealth. The Torah identifies this belief in Devarim as one of the primary spiritual dangers of prosperity. The Talmud teaches that parnasa, a person's livelihood, is decreed from above on Rosh Hashanah each year. The effort you invest determines how you receive what is decreed. It does not determine the decree itself. The person who works 20 hours a day in spiritual misalignment receives less than the person who works 8 hours a day in full alignment. Effort is not the governing variable. Alignment is the governing variable. And the practice I am about to give you is a precise instrument of alignment. The third belief, and I want you to hear this one especially carefully, is that a practice this simple cannot carry real weight. 3 coins, a pillow, a deliberate intention spoken in the dark. Surely, if something this accessible worked, everyone would be doing it. The answer to that objection is the history of the Segula itself. The most powerful spiritual technologies in our tradition are precisely the ones that did not become public. Popularity requires accessibility. Accessibility requires simplification. Simplification destroys precision, and precision is everything in a segula. What you are receiving today was not lost. It was protected. There is a difference. Here is the truth that the 3-coin practice rests on. Once you understand this principle with clarity, the practice will not just make sense to you, it will feel inevitable. In the Kabbalistic understanding, money is not primarily a physical object. It is a form of shefa, divine overflow, that has been given a physical container. A coin is not just metal pressed into a shape by a government. It is crystallized divine energy that human society has shaped into a medium of exchange. This means that the way you relate to coins, the physical objects themselves, in your hands, in your home, in your pockets, is the direct expression of your relationship with the shefa that they carry. If you treat coins carelessly, if you let them accumulate forgotten in jacket pockets and car consoles, if you leave them scattered on floors and pass them on sidewalks without acknowledgement, if you feel a mild contempt for small denominations because the amounts feel beneath your attention, you are demonstrating in the precise and non-negotiable language that the spiritual world reads that you have contempt for the shefa in its smallest available form. And the principle the tradition encodes is this: what you reject in small, you cannot receive in large. You do not build a capacity for abundance by practicing scarcity at the level of the coin. You build it by honoring shefa wherever it appears, regardless of denomination. The number 3 in this practice is not arbitrary. In the Kabbalistic system of the Sefirot, the 10 dimensions of divine energy, the number 3 corresponds to the 3 primary pillars of the divine structure: Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferet, loving kindness, holy boundaries, and the harmony between them. Abundance flows when all 3 pillars are engaged simultaneously. Chesed alone, unlimited openness, unlimited receiving creates imbalance and eventually loss. Gevura alone, rigid control, hoarding, the fear-based gripping of what you have, creates stagnation and blockage. Tiferet, the harmony point where receiving and releasing are in dynamic balance, creates the condition in which Shefa moves freely and multiplies. 3 coins placed with full intention represent the simultaneous activation of all 3 pillars. You are not simply asking for money, you are declaring, in the structural language of creation, that you understand how abundance operates and that you are positioning yourself within that structure correctly and consciously. Now let me give you the proof I have witnessed, not theoretical, observed. A man came to me about 2 years ago. I will call him Moshe. He was in his mid-50s, a building contractor with an excellent reputation in his community, a man who had never failed to complete a job and who was known for the quality of his work. For 3 years before he came to me, his business had been contracting, not collapsing, but shrinking. Each year slightly smaller than the one before. Each year a different explanation. The economy, a difficult client, a supplier problem, and each explanation was true enough to be satisfying for a moment. But the pattern continued. He had improved his marketing. He had taken on smaller jobs to fill the gaps left by the larger ones. He had borrowed twice to manage cash flow, and each borrowing had added a weight he could feel every morning when he woke up. When he came to me, I did not begin with the coin practice. I began, as I always do, by asking him how he related to money in its smallest physical forms. He told me, casually, without any sense of significance, that he did not bother picking up coins from the ground, that he left coins loose in the console of his work truck, sometimes for months at a time, that he had a jar on the kitchen counter with what he estimated were several hundred coins in it, untouched for years, because the amounts were simply too small to feel worth engaging with. He told me this the way people tell you what they had for breakfast, as a neutral fact. I told him what I am telling you now about the nature of coins as shefa. I told him the 3-pillar teaching. I told him the practice. He listened with the expression of a man who has tried enough things to be skeptical, but is desperate enough to be willing. He is not the first person to sit across from me with that expression, and the expression itself is never the problem. The problem is whether the willingness survives the first 2 weeks of nothing visible happening. He did the practice that night. He also, and this was harder for him, began picking up every coin he encountered. He emptied the jar into the tzedakah box at his synagogue. He brought a small leather pouch into his truck for any coin he found in the console. He did these things while still feeling doubtful. And in the second week, a small job he was counting on fell through. His first message to me after that was careful and polite, but the skepticism in it was clear. He did not say, "This isn't working." He said, "I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly." That restraint told me everything. He was not ready to give up. He was testing whether his doubt was accurate. I told him what I am going to tell you at the end of this teaching. He continued. And in the 6th week after beginning the practice, a residential contract he had been pursuing for 9 months, a large project that had gone quiet in a way that felt like a permanent silence, reopened without his prompting. The client called him. The contract closed at a value larger than the original conversations had indicated. He called it a coincidence, with the specific tone people use when they know it is not a coincidence. I told him what the tradition calls it, the first fruit of a channel that has been opened. Now here is the exact practice. 3 components, none of them optional, all of them precise. The first component is the selection and acknowledgement of the coins. Each evening before sleep, you choose 3 coins deliberately, not casually grabbed from a pile, but selected one at a time with attention. You hold each coin in your right hand, which in the Kabbalistic tradition is the hand of chesed, of giving and of welcome. You look at each coin. You do not need a formula. Speak in whatever language is most natural to you. This is a piece of Shefa. I receive it with full awareness. I am a channel through which it moves. The words matter less than the genuine intention behind them. What you are doing is not reciting an incantation. You are practicing a specific form of consciousness, the consciousness of a person who understands what money actually is and who they actually are in relation to it. The second component is the placement. You put the 3 coins beneath your pillow before you lie down. In the mystical tradition, the hours of sleep are understood as the time when the neshama, the soul, partially ascends while the body rests. The conscious mind releases its governance, and the inner self, which the Kabbalists understood as the dimension of the person most directly connected to the spiritual roots of their experience, is fully active and fully receptive during sleep. Placing the coins beneath your pillow is not a superstitious gesture. It is a deliberate decision to maintain the physical representation of Shefa in the energetic proximity of your soul during the hours when your soul is most open to integrate new spiritual information. You are spending 8 hours near a conscious declaration. The compounding effect of that is not nothing. The third component is the morning cycle, and this is the mechanism that most people skip, which is precisely why the practice does not produce results for most people who attempt it casually. Each morning, you take the coins out from under your pillow. You hold all 3 in your right hand for a moment. Then you give one of the 3 to tzedakah, to charity, a box, a fund, a person in need. The recipient does not change the function. The giving is not optional generosity. It is the activation of the Hesed pillar, the movement of Shefa outward, the proof offered by your own hands that you understand the difference between a channel and a storage container. Then you place the remaining 2 coins back. You replace the one given with a fresh coin before the next sleep. Receive, hold, give, replenish. This cycle, maintained consistently, is the complete mechanism of the practice. Start tonight. The tradition teaches that a spiritual insight not acted upon within 24 hours loses most of its activating energy. The moment of clarity that brought you to this teaching is itself a form of divine invitation. All invitations have a window. Tonight, before you close your eyes, find 3 coins. Hold each one. Acknowledge what each one carries. Place them beneath your pillow with the full understanding of what you are doing. And tomorrow morning, give one away. Then begin again. What you are looking for in the weeks ahead, I have observed this pattern in practitioners who apply this with genuine consistency, is not a windfall. It is a change in the quality of what moves toward you, an unusual financial opening, a stalled conversation that becomes active again, a quality of ease inside decisions that had previously felt sealed. You are not watching for lightning. You are watching for the particular quality of forward movement in areas that had been still. You will recognize it when it comes. It carries a different texture than what you were experiencing before. What I have given you today is one instrument in a complete system, a real instrument, and if you use it with the understanding I have provided, you will feel its effect. But I want to be clear about what one instrument can and cannot accomplish in isolation. The complete Kabbalistic teaching on financial alignment covers the spoken word and how it opens or forecloses channels of provision. It covers the sacred calendar and the specific windows during the Jewish year when Shefa is most concentrated and most accessible. It covers the physical environment of the home, the objects and colors and arrangements that either welcome abundance or deflect it. It covers the inner accounting, the Heshbon HaNefesh, the deep examination of belief about worthiness and receptivity that no external practice can substitute for. The coin practice works most powerfully when it is nested inside this larger architecture. The link to the full system is in the description below. If you are ready to build the complete vessel rather than one element of it, that is where the work continues. Before I close, let me tell you specifically what to expect in the first 72 hours, because this is where the practice succeeds or fails, not in the weeks of consistent application, but in the first 72 hours. Two things are likely to happen, and you need to know which of them is the test. The first possibility, nothing visible occurs, and a voice tells you this is evidence that the practice is empty. The second possibility, something goes slightly wrong, a small unexpected expense, a minor financial annoyance, a moment of discouragement, and a voice tells you the practice has made things worse. Both of these experiences are real. Neither of them means what the voice says they mean. In the Kabbalistic tradition, the beginning of a new spiritual practice almost invariably encounters what is called Yerida Litzorech Aliyah, a descent that serves an ascent. The existing pattern of misalignment does not give way without friction. Friction is the sensation of one frequency being replaced by another. Stay in the practice through the friction. The friction is not failure. It is the sound of the channel being cleared. Give the 3 coins on the second morning, even when nothing visible has changed. Give them on the third morning. By the end of the first week, the practice will have moved from something you are doing to something you are becoming. That transition is the real transformation. Everything that follows is simply its expression in the physical world. Tell me in the comments how you relate to coins right now, honestly. Do they collect in jars untouched? Do you walk past them? Do you feel they are beneath your attention? Name your starting point without shame. I read every comment, and I will respond to as many of you as I can, because the starting point you name is exactly where the real teaching can meet you. Subscribe now and turn on the notification bell if you want the complete system delivered week after week. Next week, I am going to share the specific words the ancient teachers attached to the moment of receiving money, any amount, from any source, that transforms an ordinary financial transaction into an act of spiritual alignment. Most people have never spoken these words. Most people have never been told they exist. Subscribe so that when that teaching arrives, you are there. And if tonight you are going to find 3 coins and do something intentional with them for the first time, if something in this teaching changed how you see the coins already in your home, press the like button now. It costs you nothing, and it carries this teaching to someone else who is walking past coins on the sidewalk every day without knowing what they are walking past. May the Shefa that has always been moving find in you, from this night forward, a clear and open and deliberate channel. May the coins beneath your pillow tonight be the first conscious act of a relationship with abundance that is only deepening from here. And may what you receive, you give. And may what you give return to you multiplied beyond what you released. Shabbat Shalom.